Hi, how you doing, and welcome back to another video on the channel. What we have for you today is our early preview of Game Week 8, but we're also going to take a review look at Game Week 7, how my team did, as well as my early transfer thoughts moving forward. So if this does help you out with your own decisions for your own team, please do subscribe to the channel. The growth has been awesome recently, and if you can help us go with that, it would be really appreciated. Let's take a look at Game Week 7. So my team for Game Week 7, it wasn't great overall. On Saturday, by the end of play, we actually had a green arrow of 100k, which took us up to 100k overall. And then on Sunday's games, we had a red arrow of 150k, which meant we had an overall red arrow of about 50k. But to be honest, I'm still really happy with my rank overall. The points are so close together. I'm probably only a couple of points off a green arrow for the game week. So a lot of this time early on is just keeping your head, not getting too downhearted about the red arrows, and trying to plough forward on where all the points can be scored next. In terms of the players that I had in my team, Saka was the main point scorer overall. I was a bit nervous going into the second half of that Southampton game because it was still 0-0, and then Southampton took the lead, but soon after that, the Arsenal players started scoring points. Same with Havertz. He was a player we got in for Isaac a couple of weeks ago, and he's managed to get 2 goals in 2 games and some bonus points to go along with it. So that goes down as a good decision. I captained Haaland, but I don't regret it because last season in this game, Haaland actually got a hat-trick. So it wasn't just a safe decision to captain him this last game week because he could have scored the points. It was between him and Saka. But when it is that close early in the season, I do also think that it is worth playing it safe because all the point scoring are so close together. As it gets later in the season, I'll probably be more tempted to go a bit more out there and risky with the captaincy picks, but at the moment it's going to be stuck on Haaland. And Mbeumo also got a goal in his game as well. I was a little disappointed he didn't get more than one return when Brentford scored 5 goals, especially with Kevin Schade as well, who has had 2 goals cleared off the line in each of his last 2 games. So at 5.3 million, he was one of those fun picks, and he played 77 minutes up front for Brentford, and they scored 5 goals. He was just unlucky that he didn't get involved. On another week, he could have been looking at another 8-pointer like Mbeumo, but it's just not meant to be at the moment. Hopefully we can change that soon. And I did have Faes from Leicester second on my bench, which was disappointing because I put Robinson first for some reason. In hindsight, I'm not too sure why. Should have put Faes first. He managed to get a clean sheet. And Mykolenko, Everton also got a clean sheet, but he didn't play, which is just how it goes sometimes in FPL. But yeah, overall, happy with my team in general with the fixtures moving forward. But let's take a look at the fixtures for Game Week 8. So a bit of an early look at the moment for the fixtures for Game Week 8. But in terms of captaincy, I think you've kind of just got to look at the same suspects as usual. You've either got Arsenal players or Man City players, namely Haaland. I think if you were to captain an Arsenal player, you always run that risk of the other Arsenal player outscoring them. I wouldn't be able to tell you right now whether I think Saka or Havertz is going to get the most points out of each other. Whereas for Man City, I think 9 times out of 10, we know that Haaland is going to be their highest point scorer for the game week. So I think at this stage of the season, you want to be still captaining Haaland, and that's what I'll be doing unless there's any major injury news before the deadline. I would also stay away from Liverpool and Chelsea players this game week. I think they could really cancel each other out. Yeah, Liverpool will probably beat Chelsea, but I think the rotation risk for Liverpool forwards, combined with a difficult away fixture for Chelsea, rules out the likes of Diaz and Palmer. So let's take a look at my team for Game Week 8. And as we get it on the board, I am happy with it. I've got 2 free transfers in the bank. We're actually going to talk about my possible transfers in a second. But even though a lot of the players are away from home this game week, they don't have too difficult fixtures. Arsenal away at Bournemouth. Bournemouth can be tricky, but Arsenal are the sort of team you would expect to roll them over. Mykolenko and Leif Davis play each other, which usually isn't ideal, but for both their teams, I wouldn't put it past them getting a 0-0 and getting 2 clean sheets there. Man City play away at Wolves. That's a good fixture. Watkins is away at Fulham. I think that's okay. And, the Brentford-Man United game, that's good as well. So I think whilst a lot of my players, almost all of them, are playing away from home, I do think there is that potential for point scoring. In terms of my transfers, I have 2 free transfers and 0.7 million in the bank. Now, I've got a couple of options I want to go with, possibly. I'll be interested to know if any of you have any thoughts on this. Leave your thoughts in the comments because, getting different people's views on your team is really helpful, especially sometimes you can get a bit too tunnel visioned with your own squad selection. But option number one would be Saka to Foden. Now, I've put Saka down at 10 million rather than 10.1 because that's what I'd get if I sold him. So it would leave me 1.5 million in the bank. It would also mean that I could keep Havertz, who is a cheaper way into the Arsenal attack, and I could use that money to upgrade the defence. I could upgrade either Robinson from Fulham, or I could upgrade Leif Davis to a 6 million defender. But the timing just doesn't seem right to use that money for a defender for 6 million because, let's face it, it would probably be an Arsenal defender or a Liverpool defender. And Arsenal have Liverpool, Newcastle and Chelsea coming up, and Liverpool have Chelsea, Arsenal and Villa coming up. So I could save that transfer, but then what's the point in making this first transfer when Arsenal play Bournemouth just to get some extra money? So I could do nothing, I guess, and then use the third transfer or three transfers the week afterwards. I think for Saka at the moment as well, I'm kind of okay with keeping him because he does seem to be a lot more involved with Odegaard out there, relying on him to be that creative force, and a lot of the chances are going through Saka. A couple of game weeks ago against Leicester, it didn't quite pay off, but then this game week against Southampton, he gets a goal and 2 assists. So I'm not in an urgent need to transfer him out, especially with Bournemouth coming up. Now, if I was to make the transfer and use the money, I could also, well, I don't need the money, but I could go Eze to McNeil as well as a second transfer here. But that also feels a bit sideways, just as Palace's fixtures are about to turn. And that takes me into transfer option number 2, which would be Eze and Havertz out and Foden and Matthias Cunha in. Now, Eze to Foden means that I would still keep Saka, who, like we say, with Odegaard out, remains a great option. I think Havertz to Cunha, in order to fund Eze to Foden, I think that's a reasonable option as well. When you look at the fixture swing after that Bournemouth and Man City game, even though Wolves have had a poor start, they're still scoring goals. They've got 9 goals in the last 6 games, and Cunha has 3. The fixtures are changing, and Man City, they're not even that bad a fixture from an attacking point of view. I think they've only kept 1 clean sheet in 7 games. So there is the potential for Wolves and Matthias Cunha to even score against Man City. So I do feel like I want to, make some moves because I think there's points out there to be had. But it's almost like a week too early to get the most out of players like Foden and Matthias Cunha. So I could also do a single transfer. So I could do the Havertz to Cunha as a single move, either this week or for Game Week 9. But I'm not too sure where I'm going with right now. And I'm quite glad we've got a bit of thinking time over the international break to sort of settle down and really assess the options, because I'm sure there's other options alongside this as well. And if you can see any for my team, like I say, let me know in the comments. Let me know as well if you've got any questions for your own team. Happy to answer them as well for what it's worth. And I hope you have a bit of a rest off FPL over the international break. Try and get some things in your head other than Fantasy League. And, hopefully you're having a good season so far. The link to the wildcard video for this game week should be on the screen right about now. Please do like and subscribe if you're new around here. It is really appreciated. And I will see you in the next one.